Hello everybody. In today's tutorial, we're going to dive deep into this fascinating tool called Stack AI, a no-code tool that allows you to build very powerful LLM or large language model powered applications, just chatbot and assistants, document processing, answering questions over databases, and many more. So this is the homepage. You can play with this really cool thing. It's built with brilliant minds at MIT. So feel free to, of course, explore the pricing page. It might be a little bit pricey for some people, but the features and the power worth it absolutely. So it totally makes sense. And there are no hidden fees or any stuff like that. So you can just come here and see the pricing. There's also a free version, which is good enough, but the real power is at least in starter plan. I mean, I'm using starter plan and it's very efficient in helping me and my clients building applications really fast and really reliably. So you want to sign up if you don't have an account. If you do, you want to log in. Once you logged in, this is a dashboard. On the left-hand side, you have the projects and the folders. You can create a new project, and there are a whole bunch of templates available for different use cases: chatbots, document analyzers, more complicated systems such as HubSpot assistant, email responder. I mean, many different templates are available here, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to go with an empty project. And once you're in, this is the main canvas. You have the components with nodes underneath every of them. We're going to explore them, and you can see if it automatically saves. Run is to test. We're going to go to evaluate, not in this video, maybe in the future videos. We're going to explore export, share, and also we're going to have a look at the usage section and some of the important settings you want to know where they live. Every workflow or a project in Stack AI consists of two main components, at least one input and only one output. So inputs could be multiple, but output is always one. For the input, you can have different types or different triggers. Will act as the trigger of the application you're going to build. So if it's the plain text inputs as the one you just see here, it will be exposed in an API endpoint, so it can be passed anywhere in the web. Same with the output. But there are some really powerful triggers that allows you to schedule this workflow to go out, let's say, every 4 hours or every one day. You can imagine the options are a lot: monthly, weekly, so you don't need any Zapier or extra automation. You can just have a schedule and it will go out automatically. Receive email. When an email is received, the received email is your input, which then can be sent to LLMs and then maybe can be responded automatically. Have type form. I already have a tutorial covering this, how whenever a new form in type form is submitted, the information will be your input. Plain text output, just like the one you see here, it will be exposed to an API endpoint. And there are also actions that will send the generated message by the LLM to Notion, a really popular database, which kind of is all in one database. You can do many different features and functions and very easy to use. You just need to connect it and enter your database and page ID. Essentially, the making automations is very easy with Stack AI. Next one is send email. So let's say you have the input received email. So, and then you can have an LLM respond to the email and then send it back. So you can fully automate your email responding process. There's already a tutorial by Stack AI covering this feature. The next output or action is Zapier. I already have a video tutorial on using Zapier as the action and as the trigger. So with the action, it's meaning sending the response by your LLM to elsewhere, which you put it in this webhook URL, and then you can send it to over 5,000 applications on the internet. So the options are almost limitless. At the core or heart of every project or workflow in Stack AI is an LLM, a large language model. They call large because these are sophisticated AI models that train to generate human-like text using machine learning and vast amount of data. So, for example, GPT-3 is trained, I think, over 17 billion parameters. We're going to explore every of these LLMs. So I would say, guys, most of the times you would either want to go with GPT 432K, the 3.5 Turbo, or GPT 3.5 Turbo 16K. When larger context is required, you want to go with the one with the larger context window size. An AI LLM node. There you can see there is an input. Whenever there is an input, you have to provide that variable, let's call it, in the prompt section. In this case, if it's successfully added, you can see the node name in 0, curly brackets in a color of green. The variable, whether it's an input, whether it's a knowledge base, whether it's a vector data store, whether it's a data loader, should always go in the prompt section. For the system section, you write everything else. If you want to ask your assistant to have a certain tone or style or accent, you say it here. If it needs to ask questions, you specify here. If it needs to follow a format slash a layout, you write it here, and you test and you test and you test. You tweak the system until you get the desired response. There is a gear icon that goes to LLM setting. You can change the model. You want to leave stream data as on because it allows the model to reply as it generates the response. Memory, if you turn it on, the LLM will remember on Stack AI database, which this can be changed under enterprise plan. I think you can have your own database and store everything on your own database on enterprise plans. But for rest of us, it will just the Stack AI guys will take care of it. Slide window input type that is more token efficient. Sliding window will capture everything, which will consume a lot of tokens. Window size says the number of the last messages to remember. Then you have the input for the LLM, and then very powerful new feature. You can view the memory. We have no chat, so obviously it's going to be no conversation history, and you can also clear the memory. Temperature controls randomness, lowering results in less random completions. As the temperature approaches 0, the model will become deterministic and repetitive. So the higher the temperature, the more creative the model. Don't go too crazy with temperature. This is a crazy, but maybe if you can leave it as 31, the model is going to be less repetitive. Same with frequency penalty. So if you give it a frequency penalty, you're giving it penalty for frequently using words, i.e., repeating itself. So you give it a little bit of frequency penalty, it's pretty much the same with temperature. Presence penalty, the more the presence penalty, chance of randomness. Again, it's same, pretty much the same with temperature. API key, you can provide your own OpenAI API key, not required, because the subscription you're paying to Stack AI is covering this as well. Widely super powerful large language model or LLM used in Stack AI is Anthropic. Anthropic has three models: Cloudy 2, Cloudy 1, and Cloudy Instant 1. Really powerful models and really capable with a context window of 100,000 tokens. Cloudy 1, the second most capable model with a similar context window size, 100,000 tokens. And the Cloudy 1 instant is good between balance and speed. Most of the cases you want to go with Cloud 1. Really powerful, really large data context window. So if you're dealing with large amount of data, Anthropic model is your go-to choice. To OpenAI, there is an gear icon that goes to LLM settings, model, memory, same settings as OpenAI, LLM Node. Replicate, Hugging Face. We are not going to cover these two in this video. Section we want to cover is knowledge bases. Knowledge bases are great options when you want to query against a static knowledge base. What I mean by static knowledge base is if new data is added to the database or some data is removed, it will not affect if you're using, for example, a documents knowledge base. Nevertheless, they are really powerful. Documents knowledge base allow you to upload different type of documents, CSV, PDF, text, and chats basically with that knowledge base. URLs, really powerful. You can just give it a URL, scrape subpages, even scrape with API 5, which is really accurate. And the latest, most powerful feature added by Stack AI is to be able to rescrape the same website on a basis, in this case, on a daily basis. So it's not quite static. It will update every 24 hours. The next really powerful knowledge base is tables, which is a CSV file. Just upload your CSV file, connect your question, which is your input, and give it to an LLM to take care of whatever question or analyze you want to have on your CSV file. Data, you can search for content via any API. Notion Sync. Notion is a really popular database with really vast number of features that is synced, so it's not quite static, it's dynamic. And the one below is Notion static, excuse me. Google Drive and Azure storage. I can't emphasize how powerful every single of these knowledge bases are, because they basically allow to connect your LLM application to the world with only a few clicks. Data loaders, in the other hand, are all dynamic. They are all being queried in a real time every time you run your AI assistant in Stack AI. Documents, give it any format: PDF, text, CSV, JSON, and or more. And it's a really powerful feature. You can even allow your end user to upload a PDF file, let's say, and ask questions about the PDF file, or ask the LLM to summarize the PDF file. Similarly to knowledge bases, URLs are also being scanned in real time. Note this might result in some delay, especially if you are scraping all the subpages. So this might not be the best option if you're scanning large amount of data. Of course, there is a vector data store, which we're going to cover just in a minute, but that won't necessarily speed up your process because everything is computed every time the chatbot is run. The next one is text. You can just you can just extract context of a long text. API that ping any API to your LLM. I would maybe call data loaders integrations, because these are basically integrations. You can perform Google search, really powerful feature. You can summarize and transcribe YouTube videos. You can query against an Airtable database. There is a tutorial I created earlier. and then how to query an Airtable database. Really straightforward process. And the options are limitless. MySQL, Postgres, Zendesk, Pinecone, HubSpot, Slack, Notion. Next, we want to cover dynamic vector store. What is a vector store? In a few words, vector databases help us to store a document from a data source and send a query from the user input and get the most relevant parts of the embeddings and send it to the LLM. What are embeddings though? Embeddings are numerical representations of concepts covered to number sequences, which for us humans is very wild, but for computers it's easy to understand the relationship between those concepts. Excuse me. So in short, it gets the data and stores their embeddings, and then based on what the user input is, sends the most relevant parts to the LLM, particularly useful when you are using data loaders. Note, every time this is being recomputed. Chroma is similar to the basic. You can provide a data loader, an input inquiry, and you send the most relevant embeddings to the LLM. Next section are plugins. Plugins allow your workflow or project in Stack AI to interact with the world, which indeed it interacts with the world. There are many type of different plugins. Conversational form allow you to have an ultimate lead generation AI assistant that maybe can ask for name, or maybe for phone number, for email, for whatever piece of information you want, and even connect it to Airtable. So seamlessly capture information, send it to Airtable, or just collect it in a conversational form. Table analyzers, similar to table knowledge base, allow your LLM to analyze and get data from a CSV or Excel file with doing code execution on its own. So no code tool, everything is done in the background by brilliant minds of MIT's Stack AI people. This one's new and it looks absolutely a game changer. I have been working with a tons of e-commerce clients and Shopify. If you have an interaction seamlessly like that with Shopify, it's just the next level. I haven't used it personally yet, but as soon as I do, I put a tutorial out there, I promise, to make math operations. Gmail, similarly, like the input and the output we covered, you can ping it to your LLM per Google search, or basically that you empower your LLM with to go out there and perform actions and get even better results. Perform math operations, scrape the web, or go and perform a Google search and get the top result. The next section is document readers. They are similar to LLMs. For example, if you have a large amount of data that you give it a question or a task, you select the model, and then you have a completion. They're similar to LLMs. You can Q&A over a document. You can summarize a document with an LLM model. Transcriber is really helpful, for example, when you are transcribing and summarizing a YouTube video. There is a tutorial by Stack AI showing this. The translator that obviously, as it says, translates from a language to another. Next, we have logics. Sometimes the chatbots or the AI assistants are a little bit more complicated and they need to have different path based on user intent. Let's say Python, routing switch, routing combine. I'm not going to cover Python, but you can run Python code and ideal for regular expressions, and maybe we can have really powerful and really complicated logic steps. But in the lower level, you have routing switch and routing combine. So this is fantastic. If I already have a tutorial covering this, so if the user message, let's say, is about booking a hotel, answer 0 goes to the path. If it's about something else, answer 1. and and we can also add extra steps, which makes it really, really powerful. Combine is at the end of the chat flow. So when everything is splitted here and the combine right before the output, they will go together and they will be displayed in the output. Again, I have a tutorial showing how to do this. The next super powerful feature is units, external flow, that you can basically chain different flows. So if anyone has some experience with tool like ManyChat, you know that we used to do a lot of these crazy chat flows to have a functionalities 1/10 of what we can have with a single node today with Stack AI. So this is similar. You can chain flows with this really powerful external flow. Sticky notes, it's just a reference for the human use. It's a comment. Embedded video, you can embed a video. Again, it's static. It's just for the human use. Default message dates, which allow your LLM to perform action on a date, and shared memory, which is also really powerful, that allow different LLMs to share memory with each other. I also have a tutorial covering this feature in my channel. Definitely list multi-module, different models that allow you to convert image to text, text to image, and audio to text or text to audio, with really powerful models and different voices. Stack AI is a really powerful tool that allow you to build DALL-E like, GPT like voice or text AI assistant with a very few nodes. No need for crazy stuff like this anymore. Export is where you publish or deploy, as it was formerly being called, your flow. Different ways to export your chat flow. I'm not going to go in depth because I don't want to make this video really long, but I can make a separate video. But in short, you can have your LLM application as a chatbot, as a form, in a WhatsApp or SMS using Twilio integration. There is a tutorial video by Stack AI covering this, or as an API endpoint which exposes your LLM to the world. That's for today's tutorial, guys. Let me know if you did find value. And if you made it this far, please make sure to subscribe, like, so I get motivated to make more of these contents out there. Have a good one. Till the next one. Cheers.